Uh,
Today's episode is actually about Genshin Impact.
oh God, no! I know nothing. Other than it takes your money.
Takes your money.
I gotta get
Today's
the ultra
episode is
cool one.
about Limbus Company.
I gotta get the cool one. In order to get the cool one, I've gotta open a bajillion chests. I
Those
think.
chests make a really cool ding sound when you open them, though.
Oh yes, here, have $500 then I guess. Fucking.
You've convinced me.
You've been convinced.
This podcast, it's not a natural formation. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Alina.
I'm Cole.
And I'm just as lost as when we did the Halo Reach episode.
And welcome to another episode about Halo, because I have an obsession. Anyway,
We all have those.
this one's mine.
I still have to put Legend of Zelda on the list, actually. Hang on.
Okay, you go do that. But yes, today's episode is about Halo Combat Evolved. The first ever Halo game to come out, but the second chronologically, as that happens right after Reach. Y'all don't know what Reach is. We already did an episode on that. You should go watch it.
You should go watch that.
You should go watch that, and then come back here and watch this one. Combat Evolved, Halo Combat Evolved follows our main man, the Master Chief, Spartan 117.
John.
He's not known as that yet, actually.
Yeah.
That comes later.
But the people want. But the people want to know. I was like, we're not back in time and fucking whenever, 2001.
I know, I just think it's a fun fact that his name isn't actually revealed until, like, the third game.
Yeah. I would have to. I'd have to guess that he probably had a name in the second one, but then like.
No, well, they didn't say it.
Not,
He was always
I
called.
mean, they didn't say it.
Yeah.
Do you think they only thought of his name in the third game?
No, because they had those books out, the 3-book series, and I think they said his name there because they had his whole backstory of how he became a Spartan and everything, so I would assume that his name's in there. I could go look right now. I'm not gonna.
Anyway, this video is about first name John, last name Master Chief.
Yes. Yes. Yes, this game, to do a less than quick summary of the plot of Halo Combat Evolved. It starts off right where Reach ends. If you saw our last episode, it ends with them heading towards the first Halo ring they're supposed to discover. So, the first game, Halo Combat Evolved, starts with them heading towards the first Halo ring they're about to discover. However, on their way to the ring, things go a bit awry because the Covenant were waiting for you there. Oh no. And so Captain Keyes, the guy in charge of the Pillar of Autumn, the ship you're on, tells Cortana, the AI that you get to have eventually, to start getting everybody into their battle positions and getting everyone ready, and he means everyone, including you, who is in cryosleep. So
You wake up.
you wake up from cryosleep. They wake you up. They get your.
You do a weird fucking calibration test that they do in every game.
Yes.
It never feels any more or less clunky. This isn't a criticism. This is just a true fact. The game's like over 20 years old, isn't it?
Yeah.
How old is Combat Evolved?
It's as old as me.
Over 20 years old.
Yeah. It was made in 2001 of September at some point, I think. Maybe? Let me find it.
And now our viewers know
November.
exactly how. And now we know our viewers know exactly how old Elena is.
Yeah.
This concludes
2001 in September or November something.
November 15th, 2001 is when Combat Evolved came out.
This concludes the mini arc of finding out one of our ages.
Y'all can decipher from there. I'm not gonna say the number. You can figure that out.
You can do math.
You can do basic math. I believe in you.
And if you can't do basic math, you're probably a child. And as established on our last episode, get the fuck out of here.
Go away.
Fuck. Basically, you get let out of cryosleep and you have your suit calibrated. But before long, the Covenant starts shooting at the ship, and you have to get to the bridge.
Yes.
Bridge. I know what the purpose of the room is. I didn't remember what it was called. Yes, you gotta go to the bridge so you can talk to Captain Keyes. And in this first part of the level, you don't have a gun. You're just sort of running around, you're crouching under things, all this other stuff. This is basically the game's way of showing you how to move in the game without worrying about getting shot or shooting. And it just shows you the chaos the ship is in, because the Covenant have boarded the ship and they're killing everybody and it's terrible. But you get to the bridge, you meet Captain Keyes, and it's discovered that the Covenant, it's discovered by you, it's pretty apparent to everyone else, that the ship you're on, not exactly made for fighting the Covenant, so it was a losing battle from the start. So, the next course of action is to basically abandon ship, get in escape pods, and go to this weird ring-looking thing you found. I wonder what that does. So you are told to take Cortana. Of course, Cortana has all of the information on all of the military data and Earth, which the Covenant don't know about yet, and we'd rather they didn't. So you take Cortana, so they don't get that. And you go to an escape pod. This part of the level is also tutorial-esque, but this time it's teaching you how to shoot and throw grenades and stuff like that, and hit people with your fists.
I love hitting people with my fist.
Yes, after going through the winding corridors of the ship for a while, you find an escape pod. And you get in the escape pod and you go. The escape pod goes, you leave, you escape the ship. You then discover that Captain Keyes, being the reckless bastard that he is, has decided to manually land the ship by himself while still being pursued by the Covenant. Because he's insane. Either that or Captain go down with ship or something. I don't know which one. Your escape pod, however, is not going on the same trajectory as the Pillar of Autumn is, as you start careening down into the ring. Your escape pod crashes. It has these devices that come out of the back that are meant to slow it down so you don't hit the ground as hard as fucking possible, but those break. So you hit the ground as hard as possible and you're the only one who survives. So you wake up surrounded by dead people. And you go out and you realize that other escape pods have crash landed in other parts of the area, and it's your job to go save them all from dying. Which is where the game gets a little advanced here, because you can choose which areas to go to first, and the game will act accordingly.
This is where the combat starts to evolve.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that you can fail here, and the game will keep going. So basically, if you save them all, a pelican, a ship comes down and picks them all up, and yay, you saved this area, go to next. If you fail to do so and they all die, Cortana basically does the equivalent of, well, you did your best, and you move on to the next area.
And you leave.
Yeah. This is also where you realize that the caves here are not natural formations, according to Cortana.
Wow.
Wow, it's almost
Who could have guessed?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a fucking metal hole on the ground.
But yeah, this is also the first time you get to use a vehicle. A warthog. A car. It goes vroom. You use it to get from all the places. Because if you didn't know, as I think we discussed in the last Halo episode, Halo Combat Evolved was originally a vehicle combat simulator. So,
there's a lot of those.
Gotta get them vehicles in,
So many vehicles.
So many vehicles. But anyway, you either let everyone die, let some of them die, or save everyone. Hopefully you save everyone. That's sort of the intended thing you do. But if you don't, it happens. And then you're picked up at the whatever stop you choose to be the final one, and you take off in a pelican with all the others. If all the others live, that is. Could just be picking up you. I don't know. After this, it has come to the attention of the UNSC that Captain Keyes has been captured by the Covenant. Oh no. Turns out flying the ship manually and crash landing it resulted in the Covenant looking through it and going, hey, we found a guy. Let's take him, I guess. So the next mission here is you have to get to the Covenant ship that's holding Keyes, and you have to get into the Covenant ship that's holding Keyes. You have to kill all the Covenant in the ship that's holding Keyes, and then you have to get Keyes, and then escape with Keyes without him dying. Because if he dies, that part of the level restarts.
That's annoying.
Yes, it's an escort mission. And it is very annoying. But that is how it works. So so you get Keyes, you get him out of there. Keyes shows his cool factor by manually flying one of the Covenant ships and killing 2 hunters with it by ramming them with it at full speed. And then they fly away. They fly into freedom. We didn't. Then a bit of a time skip happens, I think, because it goes from nighttime to daytime. So there's at least somewhat of a time skip, where it is discovered that the Covenant are now trying to find a map room for Halo, because in the map room, because in the map room they can figure out where the control room for Halo is, right? And,
how do they know where the map room is?
So you gotta stop them.
This kind of map could be found in the map room.
I do like the story of Halo. Simultaneously, I feel like there's a good few holes you can poke in it by just asking how blank.
Yeah, the Halo 2 does more explaining. Like, fun fact, in Halo Combat Evolved, the whole religion part of the Covenant, not explained. Not a thing. The reason we're trying to stop them is because we think they're going to use it as, like, a weapon of some sort, not because they think it's this sacred religious thing that'll take them to heaven via the great journey. Like, that wasn't
the
a thing.
charms of evolving stories is
Yeah.
the fact that, like, once they decided they were going to make a second Halo game, they're like, fuck, I have to contend with all this shit.
Yeah.
And I wrote ourselves
It's an
into
evolving
a corner.
story. It's also evolving combat.
But yeah, so you
Merchant is probably a better word for that.
But yeah, so you gotta get to the map room. Where's the map room, you ask? It's on an island, underground. So you
Good thing I
find.
can eat all this mineral in the way.
Luckily for you, there's a door into there. However, there's
Dang.
another door into there that they lock. So you have to go to a different area to unlock the door and then come back and get in there. Or you've got some fun friends waiting for you, such as an elite with a sword that you can't pick up. Because swords aren't a thing in this game either. For you to use, anyway. But yeah, so you get into the map room, and Cortana analyzes it. She looks over it, and she finds the control room. So now you got to get to the control room before the Covenant get in there and hit the on button that's presumably in there. Because
How do they also know where the control room is?
Because they were in the map room.
Those are the map room. It's been a while since we played Combat Evolved, so I don't remember.
Yeah, so the Covenant were already in the map room, but you needed to know where the control room was also, so you could stop them there. So
Okay.
So
and the map room just like was already displaying where all this stuff was. They didn't have to like activate shit, right?
Yeah. Well, actually,
I'm thinking of later.
Combat Evolved didn't really have. Well, it had objective points, but not always.
Yeah.
So sometimes you had to just rely on your
wander around.
You have to wander around or rely on your extreme mental memory of how it looks. Because you've played it so many times. Anyway.
I feel like it's a more unique experience to yourself. I am approaching this as somebody who's played Combat Evolved twice ever.
It's 2 times more than I've played it.
Where because I'm thinking of like later in the game where maybe not in this game but like in other ones where they have to have like human prisoners to activate Forerunner stuff. So I'm thinking of like if they had to access something in the map room, did they have like a human person, or was this before that lore was established?
I don't. Yes and no. I think
Cool.
I think that was a thing, but like it could be that no. I think it was like more lax, maybe.
Okay.
So like you needed a human to activate the ring, maybe, but not necessarily hit all of the buttons on the ring. The who can activate it was not really explored in the game because like every time you personally get to the control room, which is where it's going to go next, there's no one else in there. that is Covenant or otherwise, because you killed them all on the way, so and
Man, I
locked
love
the door.
killing people.
Yeah. So yeah, so but anyway, so once you figure out where the control room is, you go to the control room. Unfortunately for you, the Covenant are already there. So you gotta fight your way through them. Or at least do what I do, which is fight your way through some of them and then fly the rest of the way to the front door. You have options. Don't you love having options?
Yeah, you can cheat.
It's not cheating if it's part of the game.
It's not. Yeah.
I mean, hey, that's technically. I'm not gonna fight you on that. I'm just. It's not in the spirit of things.
It's in the spirit of speed, Cole. The spirit of speed.
I take my
Yeah, time is of the essence, Cole. Have you even played the game?
So yeah, you get into the control room after killing everyone. And up to this point, the UNSC, the human faction, if you will, don't exactly know what Halo does. They know that the Covenant want it. They know that it could be bad. They know the Covenant's bad, so they're trying to stop the Covenant from getting whatever it is, but they don't actually know what it does. So you get to the control room and you shove Cortana in the computer because Cortana does computer things and you don't, because you're the Master Chief. You go shoot, shoot, punch, punch, throw a grenade.
I've got a lady in my brain that calls me Stud Muffin. You have to have heard that before.
No.
No?
No.
I have.
Yeah, he has. I'm shocked, frankly.
Listen, all I remember of Cortana from Combat Evolved is that she would constantly yell at you and nag at you to do things.
I mean, what I said is not like an actual fucking voice line.
I know. I know it's not. I just.
But what if it was?
That'd be funny.
That'd be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. That could be like a rare dialogue thing. That'd be great.
Happens one in 1,000 times. Every 1 in 1,000 times, Master Chief gets brain damage descending onto the Halo.
Hey, Stun Muffin, wake up! What?
Huh? Because Cortana's linked to his brain. She also suffers brain damage. Is this canon compliant? No. Would it be funny as hell?
Yes. Anyway, so you put Cortana in the computer. And she gets real excited. She gets all happy. She's like, "Oh my god, there is so much knowledge in here. You have no idea, man." And she sort of starts to lose focus of why they're there. So, the Master Chief's kind of like, "Hey, focus up, lady. What is this thing?" And Cortana does some searching and proceeds to panic, doesn't really explain anything to you, and says, "You need to stop Keys now. Go, stop him now." and shoves you with her words out of the room. So even more confused now. You go to wherever Keys is, which apparently he's in some sort of jungle. He's in some sort of jungle on a different part of the ring. So you go there, and he's gone into another complete another structure in the ground that is not a natural formation. Despite Cortana not being there to point you out, you do notice that. At least I think you do. He doesn't talk in gameplay. Anyway. Without Cortana, you just can't tell. Captain Key's going cave.
Naturally generated hole.
Anyway, yeah, so you go down, and at first, everything seems normal. You know, this is your normal level. You go down, there's some Covenant, you shoot at the Covenant, you kill the Covenant, yada yada yada, all is good. But as you go further down, because this is a underground something or other, multiple elevator rides, levels of down, and at some point, there's no more Covenant to fight. They're all dead, and the blood is everywhere. And there's some weird, something's weird down here. So you get to you get to the final destination of this level, which is a door, and it's a door that has a keypad on it that the UNSC put on there to open it because it was locked.
Beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, boop.
Boop, boop, beep, boop, boop. You know, and Master Chief hits the buttons, it opens, and a body falls down on him, and he's like, oh, that's weird. So, pulls the body with him, takes a chip out of his helmet and sticks it in his helmet so he can figure out what happened, because all of their helmets record stuff. So he starts looking through the footage, and you know, it seems like it's a normal, you know, mission. They're just going down and, you know, trying to fight the Covenant, because the Covenant are seemingly guarding something down here, and can't have that. So you know, you go down. In the footage, you go down, and they find a corpse of an elite that's been ripped open. But they didn't do it. They're like, you think it was friendly fire? And they're like, I don't know. It was weird. They get to the door, which is locked, and they're like, the Covenant really locked down this door. So we gotta open it, of course. And so they open the door. And then, after a few minutes of confusion, because the room seems pretty empty, these little things, come down from the ceiling and start grabbing onto everybody in the room. And then the videotape ends, presumably because the guy died. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar, this is what is in Halo called the Flood. What Captain Keyes has just done is release the Flood, which is they're basically space zombies. They're space zombies. He released space zombies. And the rest of the level, you have to fight your way back up through the Flood. Now, some of you might...
Wow, I can't believe that Halo had the infestation from Warframe. 10 years before Warframe.
Gonna kill you. Allegedly.
Textually, they're differently enough, so don't...
I know. But yeah, so you get to fight your way back up against the Flood. Now, I know what you're thinking. In a lot of the later games, when you encounter the Flood, you could just punch them a few times. And they die. Not in this game. Punching doesn't work on them. You cannot melee the Flood. They just look at you weird and then continue to bludgeon you to death. So, most guns take a while to kill them unless you happen upon a shotgun. So the majority of the levels is mostly running. It's mostly just running away. And eventually you get back up to the top after a whole lot of flooding around, and you run out into the jungles where there's more Flood. You're shooting at the flood, and you find this weird structure. No idea what it is. You run around it for a bit, and you see these floating robots come around and start shooting at the flood, but not at you. And then you get suddenly teleported to the top of the structure, where there's this floating robot bulb thing.
Oh, ball guy.
Yeah.
Oh, fucker.
Yeah. And he introduces himself as 343 Guilty Spark.
Play tennis with him.
And he very quickly explains that you need to control this outbreak, as he calls it, and that you haven't much time. And he keeps calling you the Reclaimer. No idea where this name came from, but that's what he calls you. So you get teleported again by this thing to a different location. Before the game switches to your perspective, however, Ep.14, a predominant pilot character in this game, starts being like, "Where did you go? Where did the Master Chief go? Where did?" So,
guys, bad news. We lost one of the 7 remaining Spartan dudes.
Everyone panic.
So what you're telling me is they got to start working on more Spartan 3s.
because that's turned out so well for all of the Spartan 3s, where they nearly 100% mortality rate.
Yeah, but they get the job done.
They do get the job done before they die. That's true.
That is true. I feel like there's only so many orphans you can take before it's like, man, we're running out of orphans.
Listen, clearly that means you have to send more parents into the orphan making machine.
What is that? Just a fucking wood chipper?
Yes! But for people. A real wood chipper doesn't actually do much to a person. It doesn't process a person's corpse very well. It's not made for flesh.
Clearly you're not using the right kind of wood chippers. Have you seen the CIA with journalists?
I thought that was car bombs.
I mean, in modern day, yeah, but back in the olden days.
Back in the olden days, I think that's just push them into the meat vats.
The wood chippers.
An orphan making machine sounds comically evil. It also is probably a real idea that the Office of Naval Intelligence entertained.
Allegedly,
The fictional Office of Naval Intelligence that does not exist because that's not a real thing.
Yeah.
The Office of Naval Intelligence in Halo is not actually associated with the literal, military, Navy, Space Navy branch of the government.
Navy, Space Navy branch. Yeah.
Which is one of the biggest, weird naming conventions to me. You have the Office of Naval Intelligence, ONI, and then you have the Navy, and they are two fully different entities who, in fact, actually fucking hate working together. Why did you name ONI the Office of Naval Intelligence? Why did you do that, Bungie? What is wrong with you?
It's funny.
Why did you have to make this so fucking convoluted?
Because it's funny. Oh my god. Anyway. So yeah, you get teleported to something called the library. Except you're teleported to the very bottom of it. You need to get to the top of it, where you will get
To the top of it?
To the top of it, yeah, but you want to know what's at the top of it?
A book. It's a library, so it's a book. It's a book.
No.
Yeah.
You find...
Fine. Grimoire.
No.
A tome of some sort.
No. You find...
Perhaps a scroll.
No. No, you don't. You find the index, which is the key to the rings to turn it on. But before you get there,
Ancient Babylonian texts. I see.
it's just it looks like a T. Looks like the letter T.
Guys, I forgot. It does just look like the letter
T. But anyway, yeah, so before you get there, you have to get up there to get to it, and guess what absolutely flooded the place? The flood has. You have to fight the flood more. And it is agony, because here's a fun fact about Halo Combat Evolved. It was made in 2001. It was made in 2001 when 3D games weren't as common in this style. And so a lot of the level design is lacking, right? Because there are times where even I, someone who's played this game hundreds, thousands, so many times, has gotten lost.
I would say that you've probably played Halo 2 thousands of times, but I don't know about Halo Combat Evolved.
Probably. At least with my dad.
That's fair. You've
to...
been playing it a long, long, long time.
I've been playing it since I've played it on the original Xbox, and I've played it on the 360, and I've played it on the Xbox One, and I've played it on the Xbox One Series X. So
that's a lot.
Yeah, my family has every Xbox iteration.
That's a lot. That's a lot of times that you've evolved combat.
Yeah. I did. Anyway, but yeah,
so much combat.
So, this issue with level design, the library is not exempt from it, right? And it, in particular, is so bad that in the anniversary edition of the game, where they remastered the graphics and everything, they added arrows to the ground. They did not do this in any other level.
Even when they probably could have used some.
Yeah. But like in this level in particular, it was so easy to get turned around. They added arrows to the ground. So, that being said...
Wait, so I know it's at the top of the library then. Swedish furniture.
Unfortunately, in order to get to the top, you have to get to a central elevator that takes you up one floor at a time, and then you have to go around again. It is painful to get to this fucking index.
If there are like two main criticisms I have about Halo Combat Evolved, it's that the level design is pretty fucking dog shit sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And that the controls are kind of ass if you're used to like a modern FPS game. You're not gonna have a good time. You'll have a bad time adapting.
Yeah. Now, if you are going to play it on the Master Chief Collection, you can change the controls. So there's that. But if you're going to play the original Xbox version, oh boy, are you in for a ride.
Even the shifted controls on the Master Chief Collection are still pretty clunky, just because the game's that old.
Yeah. But anyway. Yeah, so you get the index after so much pain. Which doesn't, what doesn't help is that 343 Guilty Spark is just perfectly fine throughout this whole thing. And whenever the floods show up, he doesn't, his warning to you verbally is not, oh no, the flood, or watch out, it's, oh, hello. And then the flood attack you. You know, humming happily as he flies around, and he's like, "Oh, I'll be right back," and then you have to defend the area. So he's less than caring about your current turmoil throughout this whole process. But you get the index, and then he immediately teleports you to the control room again, I think. Does he?
I don't know.
Yes, he does. He teleports you to the control room for you to put the key in the keyhole and turn the thing on. So you go and you put the key in the keyhole, and then Cortana immediately stops the situation. And is very clearly mad at you.
Put the tea in the tea hole.
Yeah. So she actually downloads the index to herself, which means that unless you put her in the console and she actively makes the decision to put the index's code back in the system, you can't turn the ring on no more. She has essentially put a child lock on it. She basically yells at you for about a minute, and is like, "Do you even know what this fucking thing does?" And you go, "Yeah." The Master Chief goes, "Yeah, I do, because the Guilty Spark sort of explained it to you." And he said, and the Master Chief says, "It's a weapon, and if we activate it, we can kill the Flood." And then Cortana's like, "You fucking idiot, it kills their food. We are their food." Now, Guilty Spark didn't necessarily lie to you. It's not like he was trying to, like, manipulate you into doing this. You just never asked what it specifically does, so you ask him what it specifically does, and he tells you, yeah, so it'll wipe out all life in the galaxy if you turn it on, and then the Flood will go away. Thumbs up. And then you're like, oh, no. Cortana then proceeds to yell at the Guilty Spark for a bit, and the Guilty Spark yells back like, you gotta put the key back, and Cortana's like, ha, no, fuck you. And the Guilty Spark's like,
I'm gonna eat this tea.
Yeah. And the Guilty Spark's like, oh, if you don't put it back, I'm gonna, and she goes, what are you gonna do? I have the index. All you can do is float and sputter. And so Guilty Spark then registers that, yeah, y'all ain't friendly, but he also says an interesting line here. You weren't hesitant to do this the last time, so why are you hesitant now? Or something along those lines. Which is an interesting line. I'm
gonna digest this for later.
Later,
like,
yeah.
Way later.
Way later, yeah. Keep it in mind. Keep it in mind, viewers. Drill that into your brain. It's gonna be important later. But anyway, yeah, so you grab Cortana, and now those floaty robot things, which are called Sentinels, start attacking you because you have the index and you shouldn't have it. 343 Guilty Spark specifically states to take your head and dispose of the rest. So, your next mission is to get the heck out of there.
Mission objective is not survive, it's leave.
It's leave, it's get the fuck out. So you... So, your first thing is not to, you know, defeat Guilty Spark or something. Your first thing, actually, is to try to get Keys again. Because, if you remember, Keys was the one that opened that door in that downstairs place. been no sign of him. But he does have a bit of a little data chip on him, so you can track that. And it turns out he is in the Covenant ship again, except he was not captured by the Covenant because the Flood took over the ship. So he was captured by the Flood. So you're basically doing the saving keys level again, but it's the Flood this time. So it's more terrifying.
Wait, why would the Flood capture him instead of just eat him?
Oh, that's because they did eat him.
But they also caught it because they're trying. What they're trying to do, I think, is like try and form the Gravemind on him. But like, I think that's technically a retcon because I don't think Gravemind as a concept existed yet.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I like. Yeah, so basically, you're going through the ship, you're trying to find keys, and you find him all right, and he's been basically floodified, and out of fear of the Flood learning about, you know, Earth and stuff, which could be on Key's little chip there, you quite literally punch his face in and rip the chip out. So he's dead. He's like dead. He's dead. He's gone. Which is less than fun.
For him, probably.
Yeah. But you then get you run off. You get into a Banshee, and you fly to the Pillar of Autumn. Because Cortana has told you that the Pillar of Autumn can be exploded. And if you explode the Pillar of Autumn, you break the ring. You blow up the ring. And if you blow up the ring, it can't go boom no more. It can't kill everyone no more. So, you crash land the Banshee into the Pillar of Autumn while Cortana screams at you because you're flying sucks.
Master Chief was not trained in piloting.
Yeah, no, he literally, like, in the cutscene specifically to describe it, you're in a Banshee, there is a hangar door that you're supposed to fly into. The Master Chief's flight pattern is something along the lines of drunken driver, and then he crashes, like, just under the landing area, and then clambers back up without a Banshee. So he at least can't pilot Banshees yet, apparently. Either that or it's damaged enough to cause problems. I like the first option. The first option's funnier, but could be the second option. Anyway, so you get into the Pillar of Autumn, and it turns out... No, you get in the Pillar of Autumn and you get back to the control room where Cortana can be put in, and then she can do an automatic countdown for the reactor to melt down and then explode. So she starts it, and then it's stopped by Guilty Spark because he got here first. Another important line. Need to remember it. Remember it very well. Because Guilty Spark starts looking through all of the data on the ship. And I don't remember quite what he says here, but he says something along the lines of so this is what happened to us after. Human history, you call it. Important for later. Later in this game? No, but later. So, it turns out...
Hold on to that information for the next,
month, almost?
Maybe, yeah, maybe a month, roughly.
2 months from now is when we do the next Halo episode.
Oh,
whichever
yeah,
Halo
it's
episode
actually going to be like, yeah.
Yeah,
it's going to be
probably.
like 2 months, isn't it?
Well...
Oh, because it's Halo Combat Evolved. And then the payoff for this is like Halo 3.
Oh, you're right. Yes, like 2 months. At some point in the future, it will become relevant, so write it down.
Right, put it on your calendar for.
Put it on your calendar.
All right.
Clearly, our podcast is important enough to warrant being put on a calendar for thousands upon thousands of people.
Yeah, we definitely don't have enough schedule conflicts for that to go horribly wrong. Anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, so turns out you're gonna have to do this manually. So you get to the reactor room, being attacked by Flood and Sentinels. And you open up the vents for the reactor or something, and you shoot a rocket in there with a rocket launcher, and it explodes. And then the ship starts blowing up because you did it. You started the reactor meltdown. So, after this is the final level, where you gotta get the fuck out of there.
In a car.
In a car, and not only that, but it's timed. So if you don't get to the ship on time, the entire ship explodes with you in it, and the level restarts. So, gotta be speedy, gotta be quick. During the segment where you're running for your life, if you don't skip it for time purposes, because you're timed, it's the original plan for escaping was for Echo 419, the pilot I mentioned a bit earlier, to come and pick you up and fly away. But she crashes and dies.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta go to a different ship that's in the Pillar of Autumn. So you keep going, you get there. You fly off, and the ring explodes into a bajillion pieces. More accurately, a segment of it blows off from the Pillar of Autumn and then hits another segment of it, and it just kind of goes to shit from there. For the ring, that is. Not for you. You did it. And you're flying off. You're flying off into space. And of course there's the ending where Cortana's like, it's done, it's finished, and the Master Chief's like, no, I think this is just beginning. Because they wanted to make more.
Believe it or not, there's like 5 more games.
Yeah, and then the start of this gimmick where the Master Chief's face is not in view, but he takes his helmet off. But you can't see his face. But yeah.
I can't wait for the face reveal where he's just like the most generic guy.
I hope we know.
He's actually just the default skin for Commander Shepard.
What makes this funny is the fact that when Mass Effect first came out, a lot of people actually didn't like playing as like the male Commander Shepard. Because the fandom thought his voice acting was not as good.
I see.
That is what made that funny to me. Moving on.
But yeah, so
now that I've explained the joke.
But yeah, so that is the plot of Halo Combat Evolved. Simpler than Reach and all the others, quite frankly, but that's because it was made to be simpler and in a smaller time frame. So
and like $7. I think. I don't know actually much of the development history of Halo Combat Evolved.
I found it. Okay, so according to somebody who worked on the game, you've got to imagine this environment of panic and panic combined with adrenaline, but money's mostly no object at the same time, so we were spending lots of it trying to do all this crazy stuff. So, budget big.
Budget large. Time gone.
Yeah. Okay, yes. Okay, apparently, after several planned video game tie-ins to Steven Spielberg's film AI Artificial Intelligence were scrapped, it became clear that Halo had to serve as the tentpole title for the Xbox, a role which the game was never intended to fill. That's a lot of numbers. Next Generation ranked it as the second highest selling game launched for the PlayStation 2, Xbox, or GameCube between January 2000 and July 2006 in that country. I'm assuming the United States.
That sounded like a soup of words.
It was the second highest selling game in the US between the years of 2000 and 2006.
Okay, it was specifically the inclusion of the PS2 and the GameCube that really threw me off because it did not release on those. So why is that?
Because it's like overall.
Overall,
yeah, like
okay.
it's not the highest selling game, the second highest selling game on the Xbox. It's the second highest selling game overall.
Okay, well, whoever wrote that next time should just say overall.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
So spent a lot of money and then made a lot of money.
Yeah.
That is the Bungie way. They like to spend a lot of money.
To be fair, from what that guy said, I'm assuming Microsoft was like, here, take all of our money. Do whatever the fuck you need to, man. We need this to work. But I don't know. Another noticeable thing about this game was the music.
Oh yeah.
Because it was really fucking good for the time. Still is. The use of
music is pretty good.
Yeah, the in Combat Evolved, a lot of orchestra was used in order to just convey all these feelings of, like, you know, overwhelmingness of, oh shit, it's a Halo ring, and oh god, it's the Flood, and oh, it's time to kill Covenant.
There's a lot of like really intense like strings associated with the Flood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is like aren't really used much else in the game, like at all. It's like, oh, it's entirely associated with them. So you know when that happens,
to
you're
panic.
In for time.
To panic a lot.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could panic. You could also like kill.
Yeah, you have two options before you: panic or gamer lean.
Gamer lean.
Yeah. There's also a end cutscene you can get if you play it on Legendary, or if you just play the Master Chief Collection at all, where it's revealed that the Guilty Spark did not explode and is just flying through space somewhere. It's going around. Where's he going? Oh. But he's alive. Oh no.
Wow. It's like a sequel hook or something.
Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah. Johnson's also in this game. Sergeant Johnson. But not a lot. He's also in the room with the Flood. How'd he get out?
That's explained in the book, I think.
Probably.
You telling me you gotta read?
Unfortunately, no. I think the answer is technically it's helpful. It helps the understanding of things if you do read, but that's also just like an unfortunate side effect of later writing, including things from book lore without ever like fucking explaining shit to people who haven't read the book lore.
I feel like Johnson explained it perfectly well in Halo 2.
It's classified.
It's classified.
That is a cop out. That is a cop out from the writing team because they wanted to bring Johnson back. That's
But I love it though.
yeah, it fits the character very well. I mean, he's just acknowledging you can love it and it can still be a cop out at the same
But
time.
it's
Those
a
are not
good
mutually
cop-out,
exclusive.
damn it. I love that cop out. It's funny. It's like, how did you
It's a
escape
good cop
that?
out. They did
Classified.
it well.
What?
It's still a cop out.
I know. But anyway,
Like if I'm gonna sum up the Halo plot from 1 to 3, it is they make a really good standalone title that like is kind of convoluted here or there, doesn't quite make complete sense, but it works. It's still good. And then they realize as they make 2 more games that it's like, okay, well now we've got to think about a lot more things.
yeah.
And so they like kind of fucking scramble to justify things here or there, to make things make sense in retrospect, which is technically retconning. It does make things a little messy here or there, because you end up with like weird exceptions to certain situations. The lore of these titles is an absolute nightmare. Figuring out what is still canon and what is not currently canon is an absurdity, frankly.
Yes. There is a lot of stuff in Combat Evolved that is no longer canon, technically speaking. But it's such a basic plot that you can really easily ignore it.
It sounds like it was a pretty decent introduction. I think the continuation of the story, making things like a lot more convoluted, to making Combat Evolved feel like just really out of place. Because when you get to 2 and 3, you're doing this whole like space opera thing, whereas Combat Evolved felt so contained, relatively speaking.
Yeah. Which, I get it, because it was made in 2001.
Yeah, they made the one game.
Oh yeah, they made the one game in 2001 with a limited time frame, and
after they decided to switch it from purely vehicle stuff to an actual FPS.
Yeah. Which that's a fun thing I learned, which I learned it a while ago, so it might be inaccurate, but according to my brain, do you know how you move around in Combat Evolved?
Like on foot?
Yeah. Because move at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in most games, your character moves on the map. Map stays still, character move. In Combat Evolved, character stay still. Map move.
I think that is specific to jumping.
Okay.
I believe, but also I could also be wrong on that.
Either way, you can tell it was made in 2001.
Honestly, the world moving away from you when you jump is like a pretty normal thing. It's a kind of a normal way to code jumping into a game, especially at the time.
Fair. I still think it's funny.
You wouldn't notice that.
No.
Unless you knew that already.
Yeah.
It feels like jumping.
Yeah.
And the moving feels like moving. So, like, if that is the case.
It still works. It's fascinating. Some of the weird stuff it did behind the scenes. There was also an alpha edition of the game, a beta edition. Not fully released edition.
Probably a beta.
A beta version of the game, where I'm just diving into fun facts now. Where, fun fact in Combat Evolved, none of the Covenant actually like say English words. They make a bunch of noises that sound like they're saying something, but they're noises. But in the beta edition, there was a line you could get where one of the elites would just say, "Do not worry, human. I only have a banana." Instead of a gun. Which was silly. And also weird, because they didn't speak English. The demon nickname, also not a thing yet.
Yeah, that also comes in the second game.
Yeah, this is how you get that name. By blowing the Halo ring up single-handedly.
It's how Master Chief becomes specifically the demon, and I'm pretty sure that the Covenant like collectively referred to Spartans as demons lowercase d. And then like Master Chief is the demon uppercase.
I don't know.
Which is, again, convoluted and kind of unnecessary.
I don't know if they didn't do that in Reach, I don't think. I don't remember hearing that.
I think it might be one of those vaguer details. Or I'm misremembering something. Either way, I feel like the phrase convoluted and kind of unnecessary sums up a lot about the story of these games. This is really what I'm focused on, is like the narrative of these things, because I don't think it's bad. I think it's just so... It's like watching a worm tie itself in knots.
This is why I mostly just stick to the games, because it's pretty straightforward.
I mean, even just sticking to the games, it's like watching a worm tie itself in somewhat looser knots. Because every game that goes forward simultaneously builds on the previous one, but also retcons a bunch of information. So you have to, like, constantly update your understanding of something and, like, throw out previous information.
Well, 2 and 3 didn't really do that. They were actually made with the idea of both existing.
I mean, yeah, 2 and 3 flow together very well. And specifically in this part, I'm talking about going from the first game to the second and third one.
Oh, yeah. Well, as I can understand that, because it went from vehicle simulator to, oh fuck, we have 6 months, to, what do you mean this is successful? What do you mean we get to make a sequel? What do you mean we get more time and money?
Well, I mean, if they put the Guilty Spark floating in space thing in Legendary Edition and like the base release, I think then they knew that there might be sequel potential.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of media at that time that did that just in case. But sometimes it does that, and you're like, no, that wasn't gonna happen, hon.
And like, to be clear, like, I know for a fact that like Halo rapidly changing things in its second and third games is not the first fucking game series to do something like this. It will never be the last.
Yeah.
That is not going to stop me from poking at it, though.
Which is fair. I poke at it too sometimes.
Yeah.
like how the Covenant suddenly speak English in the next game.
But they had to do that because in Halo 2, you spend half the time playing as a member of the Covenant.
Yeah. I just think it's really funny. We went from wart to the fucking prophets over here.
Be not afraid.
And then also introduces the Grave Mind, which also speaks English, which I guess makes sense because it's a hive mind of everything. I wonder how many languages the Grave Mind can speak.
It's the language of everyone it's eaten, I'd imagine.
Probably. Probably how that works.
And also, if the Flood develop their own native language upon forming a grave mind, that's an interesting thought, I think. I don't think that's true, but I think that's fun to think about.
The most they say the Flood says is, like, screaming, and then sometimes the Gravemind just I think through the vocal cords of all of them says some poetic shit and then goes back to screaming. So I don't know if I'd call that a language.
I think the point here I'd like to make, like, regarding the future story that will happen in the next 2 games, and then beyond that, is that retcons are frequent.
Yeah.
Nothing stays constant for too long.
Yeah.
And this was the case even when it was just Bungie. I feel like there's a real common thing in the broader Halo fandom, and I do this too. I'm not super involved in it, but I also do this since I saw the games that 343 made.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. To pin a lot of blame on 343 for doing certain changes, and they're all like, there's like, I think there was a lot to criticize there, but I think it would be unfair to not also levy similar criticism at Bungie when they had control of the IP, because they did tangentially similar stuff. It should just shifted around all of the time. There was not a whole lot that was set in stone until the second and third game came out, which were made to go together. Shit even shifted around when Reach came out, because in the original book of Reach, Noble Six was Master Chief, as we covered last time.
Yes.
So like,
and they were all
Spartans. There's like weird retconny stuff is basically just also what Bungie did. Yeah. I think there's a lot more that you can criticize 343 for there. 3434. Wow.
3434.
I do think that there's like more weird retconny stuff that you can talk about with 343, because there's not only like some weird stuff that feels really retconny, but then there's also like a whole stylistic change that happens from Halo 3 to 4 in the future. And I'll talk more about that when we get there.
Yeah.
It's just like preparation for the future.
I will also just one more note on that. The retcon changes that Bungie did were, in my opinion, a lot more subtle.
Yeah.
Well, like, they didn't... The basic idea of, like, the game...
I have to agree with you.
Yeah. The basic idea of the game never changed. Where it's like, you've got the humans, you got the Flood, you got the Covenant, and you got the Forerunners from the past, with all their machines happening now. And they all have...
I'm gonna have a lot to say when we get into Halo 4.
Oh, I am too, trust me.
Long episode coming in 4 months or something.
Yeah, something like that. An amount of months, more than one.
And then see, after we do the Halo series, then we do the Mass Effect series, and we just talk about science fiction for like a long time.
Oh, that's another fun fact about Halo Combat Evolved. During the development of Halo Combat Evolved, the game designers had to take extensive notes on the movie Alien and all of the other Alien movies that were out at the time. I don't know which ones.
I think it's Alien and also Aliens.
Yeah.
Were out.
Yeah. And there are multiple parts of the game where that is very apparent. There's
all of the Flood.
Yeah, all of the Flood. There's a moment when you're saving Captain Keyes for the first time, where one of the soldiers is like...
Been so many Alien movies by fucking 2001. Jesus.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They probably just watched like the main good ones, not the ones that were like milk the franchise. But yeah, there's a line from one of the soldiers that's like, where he's like, "It's game over, man." We're screwed, man. We're screwed. And then Captain Casey's like, quit your belly aching and remember you're a leatherneck. And that is a direct quote from one of the Alien movies. And then Sergeant Johnson is based on a character from Alien.
The everything about Sergeant Johnson comes from like every military movie ever.
Well, yeah, but he's more so based on, like, I think a specific character from Aliens. Like, he's not like a ripoff, but he's very, you can, if you were to watch Alien, one of the Alien movies, and then play Halo, you would see it.
I haven't done that like back to back.
I haven't either. I just know this because my dad is also obsessed with these games. But yeah, a lot of heavy note taking from Aliens to make the game go burr. So that's a fun fact. And for a game made in 2001, a lot of cool women. Like Cortana and Echo 419, who, despite really only being a ship, is a woman, and she's fun.
And also a bunch of nameless Marines.
Yeah. But yeah, Cortana's very prominent too. And she's great. Because she's the brain of the whole thing. Because she's an AI computer.
Wow, I would never guess that an artificial intelligence from the future, in the fucking 26th century, is the brains of an operation.
Yeah.
Shit's wild like that, you know?
Shit is wild like that.
Shit can only be so wild.
Yeah. One of my personal favorite things about that. The whammon. They did a good job.
Wham.
Unlike some games that did a bad job. Especially around that time.
Unlike so many other games.
Like so many other fucking games. You did it. You did it, Bungie. You did the bare minimum. Thank you. Like, visually, yes, Cortana's kind of weird, but
Not like the worst ever, at
no.
least.
Well, no, and also, like,
it could be so much worse.
Especially if we're talking about not the remastered, like the original version. They seemed so they seem more focused on making her look like a hologram than smexy lady. Because in a lot of this, because in a lot of her scenes, like, she, like, it, like, unlike later versions of her where, like, the fucking tech patterns on her are constant, like, they're just fixated in one place, hers are, like, moving in the original one, and they have a lot of transparent spots. So, like, sometimes you can see the womanly figure, and sometimes you see straight through her, and it's kind of hard to make out what she actually looks like. You can see her eyes, you can see her hair, see her arms moving around. Due to graphical technicality, it's kind of hard to actually see all that well. Especially when she's in the control room, because then they give her a rainbow effect. And it's just like, oh, that's a lot of visual going on there. But yeah, no. In Combat Evolved, she is a lot grumpier. I would say. Maybe it's because you almost killed the entire galaxy.
Well, but you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah.
Look, it's a mistake anyone could have made.
I know that sounds bad. One thing that I know for a fact is a retcon thing in Combat Evolved. I think. That is blatantly obvious. Is that in Reach, Noble 6 gets Cortana, which has just been constructed in this Forerunner structure underground, and takes Cortana to the Pillar of Autumn, and she goes off on the Pillar of Autumn with Master Chief. In Combat Evolved, their dialogue implies that they've met before. So
I think that retcon comes. I think the nature of that retcon is that Cortana was made from like Dr. Halsey's brain cells.
Yeah.
And so like probably what she's getting is the vibe.
The vibe. Maybe.
I guess, like
maybe. I don't know. I just originally, as we talked about with one of those books, Master Chief was the one that was doing the Reach stuff. I don't know if Cortana was there. I didn't. Sure she was. I didn't get that far in the book. I got to where they first encountered the Covenant ever. So if anybody knows who watches this video, please inform us. I'm curious. Could I go read it? Yeah. Will I? No. No, probably not. Because I don't read that often.
Books.
Literacy is for nerds.
Literacy is for nerds.
Oh, boy, call me a fucking nerd, why don't you? Halo evolved combat and then became the number 2.
Yes. The next game is Halo 2, which we'll talk about later.
So much later.
So much later. So we'll talk about it later. But
is that my cue?
Yes.
Send us off.
You motherfucker.
Guys, I think I just got a message on Discord.
I think everyone watching this just got a collective message on Discord. Guys, I'm currently trying to fly a Banshee to the Pillar of Autumn, but it's about to crash. If you don't subscribe right now, I'm gonna die. Quickly, hit the button. Hit the button before I...